Hey, what's up guys, it's Bakes here and thank you for joining me for this Christmas edition of my random horror reviews. So first of all, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to those who celebrate. Today's movie is a little bit of a weird one because wholeheartedly, and I'm not going to try and convince you otherwise, this is not a horror movie, but I feel like it made big enough waves in the horror community and lots of people in the horror community spoke about this one and I also want to talk about it. So today's movie is from 2022 and it is titled Violent Night. So before we get into my thoughts of Violent Night, let's quickly get into the plot. So in this movie, Santa, played by David Harbour, is a little bit tired and a little bit jaded of being Santa and everything that comes along with it. You know, he just feels like things have changed over time. You know, he's been doing it for so long and kids are becoming ungrateful and all they want is video games and whatever. So he's just kind of over it. But he's still got a job to do, so he's doing his trip around the globe, Christmas Eve, and he stops in at this mansion and he ends up falling asleep there for a moment. And the mansion is owned by this grandmother. I forget what company she runs, but she has tons of money in there and she's got her family over, so her kids and then her grandkids as well. And the grandkid actually comes into play as like our second main character in this story. But either way, now Santa's in this mansion with this family, and then a group of mercenaries break in to try and find this money that this grandmother supposedly has in this house. So now Santa is trying to protect this granddaughter and her family and get out on Christmas Eve. So pretty much, if you didn't get it from that plot description, this is pretty much Die Hard, except with Santa Claus instead of John McClane. So that's pretty much our story in this one. I remember when the poster came out for this movie, I literally thought it was a meme, like no joke, I literally thought it was just a joke. I saw it on Universal's Instagram page, and I thought it was like they picked David Harbour because he's popular from Stranger Things and he's a likable face, and they like photoshopped some Santa stuff onto him, and it was just like a made up poster, to put out around Christmas time. But then it turns out it was an actual movie, and as I said, it fucking tricked me. I legitimately thought it was a meme. But either way, getting off topic, let's get into my thoughts of 2022's Violent Night. So even though I just briefly brought it up there in my introduction, I feel like I do need to bring up again that there are a lot of similarities to this movie and Die Hard, and you hear a lot of people bring that up. The biggest difference really is that Santa Claus is, doing this instead of John McClane. But if you really break it down, there actually are a lot of beats that are pretty much taken from Die Hard. However, this movie is extremely aware of it and brings a lot of that sort of stuff to light and turns it into jokes and humor. Like there's a part in the movie where Santa's going through his, sack of toys, and it's sort of like a bottomless pit, so he reaches in and doesn't know what he's going to pull out. And he goes, Die Hard on Blu-ray, and throws it at one of the mercenaries. It's very aware that it's very similar to Die Hard, and it takes it in its stride, which I like. And if I'm being completely honest, I do have a lot of fun with this movie and with Die Hard, but I'd probably prefer to watch Violent Night, just because it's got that level of camp and ridiculousness going for it that Die Hard's just a little bit more straightforward. And you might be wondering, where does the ridiculousness and camp come from? If you're thinking that, you have not been paying attention to what I'm saying, because it's Santa Claus doing this. So there is a lot of humor in this movie as well that I feel like works. A lot of the humor also, again, just comes from the situation that it's Santa Claus doing this. But there's also great action, great fight sequences. A lot of the fight choreography is really well done also. Even surprisingly good gore. Like, it's not like Saw gore or, one of those torture porn gore or anything, but, like, a lot of blood and, a lot of, violence that maybe might catch you off guard. I know the movie's called Violent Night, but, as I said, surprisingly good gore, and, as I said, that just adds to the level of fun and ridiculousness and camp in this movie, which I really enjoy. Another thing that I really like about this movie was the choice for David Harbour as this version of Santa Claus. I really like it because he's first of all convincing as a tough badass, but then also David himself is very likable, and he's just one of those actors with so much charm, and it's just kind of hard to hate him. So as I said, a great choice for this version of Santa Claus. But the character, originally when I first saw this movie in cinemas, this was the second time watch for this review, but the first time I saw this version of Santa in the cinemas. I found his development through the movie to be a little bit jarring, and what I mean by that is at the start of the movie, as I said, he's a little bit burnt out and jaded from being Santa for so long. He even says in this particular scene, the kids are becoming junkies. All they do is want. They want video games, and the magic of Christmas isn't there anymore. No one's believing, they just want presents. And I actually really like that scene. He says it the movie opens in a bar, and it's Christmas Eve, and he's getting drunk, and he knows he has to do the rest of his trip, but he's just getting shit-faced, and I really like that scene. But then when the movie eventually goes on and he realizes there's this hostage situation going on, and he has his first few fights and run-ins, he seems a little bit withdrawn or weak, and it's kind of like, take your frustrations on Christmas out in this scenario, because you know that he's eventually going to fight back and whatever, but it seems like the first few fights he's a little bit withdrawn. But then you learn a little bit more about his history and backstory, and I know some people didn't really like the backstory that was given to him in this movie. I'm not really for or against it, I just think it's fine. I'm not really fussed either way. But then, when he's starting to fight back and, you can see his combat and everything, you're kind of like, where was this the whole time, But that's how I felt the first time watching the movie, but rewatching it this time around now, you learn that he's just, as I said, he's been doing it for so long, and he says this specific line, how he's been married to Mrs. Claus for 1,100 years, and you presume he's past where he used to fight, and he was sort of this Viking, a little bit of a spoiler there, but, that was long ago, so, maybe he's just a little bit out of form, he's, finding his footing and everything again, and I don't know, his development didn't seem to be so jarring this time around, and as I said, overall I really like David Harbour and this portrayal of Santa Claus in this movie. And as much as I really like David Harbour in this movie, I also think we have a really good secondary cast. The villain in this movie is played by John Leguizamo, and I really think he's great. In the same year, he was also in The Menu as one of the sort of B characters in that film, and I was really hoping we were going to start seeing him in more stuff again, because I really like John Leguizamo. I feel like he's an underrated actor. I feel like most people attach him to the Super Mario movie or the voice of Sid the Sloth or whatever, but he was great in Romero's Land of the Dead, whatever you think about that movie. I thought he was really good in it. I'm kind of hoping that we see him in more stuff again, but he was great in this movie as the villain, as I said. The child actress in this movie, I'm blanking on her name, but she was really good and really likable, and she sort of provides a lot of the movie's Christmas sort of feel, because as I said, she's in the highest spirits about the holiday, and she's the one believing in Santa, and as I said, the whole reason he's a little bit jaded and bored of it is because everyone's losing the Christmas spirit over time, and she's the one providing it and sort of pushing him to keep fighting, to survive Christmas Eve. And I really like, as I said, her performance in this movie. It's very convincing as this child of wonder. I also really like the whole dysfunctional family going on in this movie. It's very similar to a film like Ready or Not. They're not as evil as the family in Ready or Not, but they're all kind of a little bit self-loathing, hating on each other. They just talk shit and suck up to the grandmother because they want the money, but then they're willing to throw their own kids under the bus and everything. It's just such a dysfunctional family, but one of those ones you love to see in a movie like this because it's funny. So I really like the remainder of the cast that we also get in this movie too. So before I get into my final thoughts of this movie, I do want to bring up a very, very small nitpick that happens right at the end of the movie. And I really do mean very, very small nitpick. It's just something that I would have liked to see sort of happen. And I am going to try and avoid spoilers here. I'll try my best to do it at least. But there's a part at the end of the movie where Santa's not looking so hot. Things aren't in his favour. And the little girl and her family believing in Santa and giving him Christmas spirit is sort of what brings him back to full health. And obviously the family have just seen a miracle happen in front of their eyes, and sort of the whole movie they're saying, oh, Santa's not real, Santa's not real. As I said, they've just seen a fucking Christmas miracle, And there's no moment where they actually acknowledge that this guy is Santa and, Santa has just saved the night. As I said, it's a very small nitpick, but I just would have liked to see that happen because, as I said, the whole movie, they're doing the typical adult thing. Oh, Santa's not real, he's not going to be able to save us, blah, blah, blah. They've just seen it happen and they sort of just brush over it. I would have liked to see them acknowledge it. I feel like it would have also added to the, Christmas magic and whimsical elements that aren't always through this movie. As I said, it's mostly carried by the little girl, but I feel like it would have just added a little bit more if the whole family went, holy fuck, that actually was Santa Claus. But like most Christmas movies, especially ones that, involve Santa, ones that take place in a world where Santa is not real, plot holes start to come up. The parents are like, Santa's not real. It's like, well, how did those presents get under the tree? You didn't wrap them. It says from Santa, so where'd they come from? Like, plot holes always come up like that in these Christmas movies, but it's dumb if you start nitpicking them and everything, so I didn't want to make a big deal. I just wanted to see a scene where they actually acknowledge that was Santa. But anything else with the movie? I feel like it is a touch too long. Could have been a little bit shorter, maybe take off 10-15 minutes, but either way, still a lot of fun. I'm going to get to my rating now. Violent Night from 2022, I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. As I said, not a straight up horror movie, but as a horror fan, I get a lot of fun from this movie. And if you didn't check it out, and this kind of movie is up your alley, definitely check it out. It's worth a watch, a lot of fun. So, gonna leave my review there, guys. As I said, I probably prefer to watch this movie over Die Hard, and there's been a lot of Die Hard rip-offs over time, but man, this one's just a lot of fun. And now that it's around Christmas time, December and everything, perfect time to watch a movie like this. If you are getting a little bit tired of the classics and everything, which I don't know if there's any Christmas classics I get tired of. My favorite Christmas movie of all time is The Grinch, Jim Carrey's version. I just think it's fucking hilarious. Like, I genuinely love that movie. But yeah, this is another one that you can sort of chuck into your rotation because it's fun. Adds that little bit of violent flavor and everything that us horror fans like. So yeah, Violent Night, definitely check it out. Thank you for joining me again, guys. As I said, happy holidays and Merry Christmas. I hope everyone's had a safe holidays. And yeah, I'm super excited to move on to 2024 with you guys. Hopefully continuing to watch me. I've really loved all the support and everyone tuning into my videos, whether you're subscribed or not. I'm very appreciative. So thank you for that, guys, and I'll see you for another video soon. Peace.